you don't necessarily need a business plan. You can start without a business plan. But a business plan is a guiding tool that will help you monitor your new venture in terms of the objectives that you want to achieve. And there are different school of thought when it comes to business plan. To say, some like your Elon Musk, they don't believe that you need a business plan. They just believe that you need to go ahead and start implementing. But obviously they have their own money. If you're going to need funding, or if you're going to need to convince partners to join you in your journey, you're going to need a business plan. And also, personally, I believe that a business plan is a very important document that as a business person or as an entrepreneur, you need it to guide you, to give you direction, to see if you're achieving your goal. Before we jump into the lesson for today, here's a clip on how our platform works.
Good day. Welcome to our platform that simplifies the business plan development process. We will guide you through the platform and will try to simplify the business plan development process. We are from a school of thought that believe that a well-developed and accurate business plan is an important tool in an entrepreneur's toolbox to identify, assess, and manage business opportunities and the related risks. 2. To source funding and recruit key partners such as suppliers, customers, and key employees. We have identified 3 main challenges with the business plan development process, and they are: it requires research and formal writing. 2. More specifically, the numbers and financial statements. This forces the entrepreneur to hire business advisors and or accountants, which creates a third problem. 3. Cost. Hiring of consultants is costly, and this becomes a gatekeeper to entrepreneurship. We developed this application to which we believe it addresses the above problems, and this is our first step in our mission to democratizing entrepreneurship and access to funding. At some point in your life, you have to answer your calling to live a fulfilled life. If entrepreneurship is your calling, we are here to simplify the process for you.
As the saying goes, many were called, few were chosen. Many have tried entrepreneurship, few succeed. You are warned. Entrepreneurship is not a children's game. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint-hearted, and it is not for everyone. It must be your calling because it comes with headaches and pains. Entrepreneurship is a high-risk career. Depending on the research you read, between 70 and 90% of all startups fail. You must do your work before you jump in. You may become the statistics. If you really want to be successful as an entrepreneur, you should consider it your first occupation. Trust the process and invest the necessary time and resources required.
As I have said in the introduction, developing a business plan can be too academic and technical. To simplify all the concepts of the business plan, we are using 3 entrepreneurial movies as practical case studies. The first movie is The Founder, based on McDonald's true story. Second movie, War Dogs, 2 young men, entrepreneurs, and Moneyball. We chose the 3 movies because they represent all the business models that exist. Value-adding process. You basically have to think manufacture. You put raw materials in one end, they go through the process, and a different product comes out at the end of the process. McDonald's business model is value-adding process. Facilitated network. They are middlemen. They facilitate access to solutions, i.e. agents, entrepreneurs, and network companies. They don't necessarily produce anything, but they just connect the problem with the solution. AEY's business model is a facilitated network. Solution shops. Consulting businesses. You identify or they identify the problem and they customize a solution for you. The Oakland A's business model is a solution shop. A business can incorporate all the business models in one business. It is important to understand your business model. For example, RMK combines all the business models. This app takes entrepreneurs and produces polished entrepreneurs. That is value-adding process. Facilitates funding. Facilitated networks. And lastly, we provide post-investment support, solution shops, where we identify problems in your business to develop solutions.
Welcome to another series of our new venture creation session. Today we'll be talking about producing a business plan for a new venture. The purpose of this session is to assist learners or delegates to be able to produce a business plan and then provide them with the necessary knowledge on information that needs to be gathered. How do you present it? How do you do your financial projection? How do you do your industry analysis so that you can produce a bankable business plan? So the purpose of this unique standard, one, is to identify, gather, and analyze information that is required to produce a business plan. We're also going to look at the ethical components that you need to take into account, that you need to implement in your business plan. And the third one is on the financial and operational plan. What is the financial and operational plan, and how do you implement that? And the last one, it will be how do you present or market your business using your business plan. This unique standard consists of 4 specific outcomes. The first one is to identify, gather, and analyze relevant information that's required for you to produce a business plan. That's the first specific outcome. The second specific outcome is to formulate an ethical framework for your operational plan, because when you're operating, you need to operate within the specific ethical and legislative requirements in terms of your operation. So the specific outcome addresses that. And our third specific outcome is on establishing priorities, objectives, vision, mission, goals of a new venture. And the last one is on how do you present. It's on presentation of your business plan and your financial and your marketing plan. How do you engage with external parties when it comes to your business plan? How do you present it to financial institution or potential key partners to convince them to join you in your journey of building your new venture? Okay, the first question will be, what is the business plan? Okay, a business plan is a living document. It's a strategic document for an organization, or it can be for a department, which guides you in terms of what you want to achieve, how to achieve those goals, what resources are you going to need for you to achieve these goals. And it also helps you to monitor the performance of your venture or your business. Are you achieving the targeted goals? What are you missing? Where can you rectify? What strategies can you change? Because you need to include strategic planning within your business plan. So your business plan basically will have about 6 components. That one, it's on the strategic overall objective of the organization. So here you indicate what is your organization all about, what do you want to achieve, summary of the customers that you are targeting, summary of the operations, how long the organization has been existing. So that's the first summary portion of the business plan. Then, depending on the structure, different people write it differently, but there are core components of a business plan that you need to make sure that they are always included. The first one is looking at your industry analysis. That's the first component, not necessarily the first component, but one of the components that needs to be in your business plan. It can depend. You can put it second, third, depending on how you structure your business plan. But industry analysis basically means you looking at your industry, understanding the key players, understanding the logistics, the participant in that space, understanding the competitors, understanding how your industry works. That's now on your industry analysis. Then you have your market analysis. A market analysis is for your targeted market segment that you're targeting. Are you targeting corporates? Are you targeting government? Are you targeting individuals? How is their buying patterns? How much do they buy for? So that it will tell you how much can you target as a business in terms of the market, and what are they looking for, the type of product that your market is looking for, the price range that is your target market is looking for, where are they based, the place where they are based, and how are they serviced. So now you need to analyze the market to see if there is a market for one, for your service or product that you're operating. 2, how are you going to service that market? 3, how big that market is. So that's on the market analysis. And the third one is you look at your operations. So when you're looking at operations, you're basically looking at your operating model. How are you going to operate? Are you going to manufacture? Are you going to buy and sell? Is it a service? So that's on the model side to say, how are you operating? Once you decided on the operating model, Then you need to know what is your value proposition. What is a unique feature of your business, so that when you design your operation, when you put together how you're going to operate, you need to know your value proposition to say, what is it that you want to achieve as an organization? That's on the operation side. And then obviously when you're looking at the operation side, you're going to look at the equipment that you need, the legal requirements that you need to have before you start operating. Is the industry require you to have licenses? So that's the operation side. And then you have the human resource side. The human resource side is in terms of labor, people that you're going to need. Are they freely available? The team that you need to put together, the partners that you need to put together. So that's the human resource side, that you need to make sure that the skill that you need to operate your new venture is available where you're operating from. Because you might have to relocate or put your business where you'll be closer to the labor market. That's on the human resource side. And the last one, it's on the financials. Looking at your market, the requirement, the size of the market, looking at your operational needs, how are you going to operate, the size of the factory that you need, and looking at your human resources, the number of people that you need to operate your business. Then you need to look at your financial side of things. Is the business profitable? Will I be able to make money from this operation? So that's now the finance looks at the different components, put them together to see if your business is financially viable. So obviously on the operation side, you are looking at if your business is operationally viable. On the human resources side, you are looking at if human resource side of things is your business viable. And then on the market side and industry analysis, you are looking at it if you will be able to enter the industry and if you will be able to penetrate the market. So you are looking at your market viability. So those are the components of the business plan in summary, but we'll go into details and analyze them individually so that you can understand them better. Okay, and now the next question is, why do you need a business plan? Or do you even need a business plan to start a new venture? Obviously, you don't necessarily need a business plan. You can start without a business plan. But a business plan is a guiding tool that will help you monitor your new venture in terms of the objectives that you want to achieve. And there are different schools of thought when it comes to business plan. To say, some like your Elon Musk, they don't believe that you need a business plan. They just believe that you need to go ahead and start implementing. But obviously they have their own money. If you're going to need funding, or if you're going to need to convince partners to join you in your journey, you're going to need a business plan. And also, personally, I believe that a business plan is a very important document that as a business person or as an entrepreneur, you need it to guide you, to give you direction, to see if you're achieving your goal. So for me, it's a very important document that you need to make sure that you have before you even start, so that you have something, you have a sense of direction on where you're going. So here, it will be a clip from our case study movies, which is the Moneyball, is War Dogs, and The Founder, which shows you why you need a business plan. Enjoy the clip and then we'll discuss after. Let's watch the clip where the importance of a business plan is explained using our 3 case study movies, which is The Founder, Moneyball, and War Dogs. Enjoy the video.
The question is, why do we need a business plan? Generally, a business plan is not a must for an entrepreneur, especially if your business is self-funded. There are other schools of thought that believe that you don't need a business plan, especially if you don't need any external funding. Personally, I believe a business plan is important for the following reasons, in no order of importance. A business plan helps you identify, assess, and manage business opportunities and their related risks. It's a structured approach on how opportunities will be exploited and risks will be mitigated. It keeps the team focused on key objectives. It is used to recruit key partners, funders, key employers, suppliers, or customers. Even if you don't need funding or partners, a business plan is still an important guide for your strategic plans.
Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brothers didn't think through the financial business model and how it would be exhausted before they entered in an agreement. The brothers lost hundreds of millions from the transaction. Only after they signed the agreement, they asked, "What is next?" Mr. Kroc just told them to leave everything to him. A proper business plan would have helped to avoid the unnecessary conflicts and mitigate the risks that comes with transactions like this. Lack of planning resulted in unending conflicts, and if they had properly planned the expansion, the brothers could have financially benefited from the growth of McDonald's than they did. Ray Kroc is trying to raise additional funds without a business plan. Unfortunately, he exhausted equity in his property. A business plan is important to raise funding. If Ray Kroc had a business plan, he could have used it to source the funding.
AEY appears not to have a formal business plan. These are cowboys. They planned on the go. But it must be said they were held by an equity investor in Ralph. It gave them freedom to operate freely. Because of the simplicity of their business model, Ephraim was able to articulate the business plan clearly and was able to pitch to potential partners with ease. Their business model was to operate based on the money available. It is difficult to develop a business plan for tendering businesses, which is a general dealer, supplying anything that is required. Their business model was to throw in as many bids as possible and hope for the best. Even though AEY landed a $3 million contract, they experienced too many problems because they did not conduct proper due diligence and their execution was unstructured. At the end of the day, they failed to fully execute the contract because of the conflict between Ephraim and David. The conflict was caused by the lack of organization values and a guiding contract execution plans strategy. Ultimately, they got arrested because they did not pay the packaging guy, and this was the least reason for them to get arrested.
On the other hand, unlike AEY, but similar to McDonald's, the Auckland A's had a complex business operation that required a comprehensive strategy with proper planning. Just note that the general terminology used for a business plan for an existing business is called strategic planning. During the meeting with the scouts, Billy had an unnecessarily difficult conversation because the scouts didn't know the play. Billy had not communicated his business plan with the scouts. This lack of communication regarding the business plan also comes through during the conversation between Billy and Coach Art. But this scene shows that Billy regretted not communicating this business strategy with the team. Billy's failure to formally develop a business plan and share it with the team caused problems with him. The team did not buy into the strategy early on, and he struggled to efficiently execute the plan. Billy's failure to communicate his business plan with the team made it difficult for the team to embrace his strategy, and this resulted in the team's adoption of the strategy taking longer than it should. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
As you can gather from the clip that we just played you, that the business plan is more a roadmap for you. So in terms of entrepreneurship, it's a jungle, and you don't want to go into this jungle without a map, without a business plan. So it plays a very, very important role in your journey as an entrepreneur. So it basically, what it does, the business plan, it keeps you focused. It makes you focus on the vision and mission and goals that you want to achieve as an entrepreneur. And secondly, if you're not using your own money, you're going to need funding. Funding institutions, they'll want to see your business plan. Basically, the business plan is your mouthpiece while you're not there. So you send it to a financial institution, they'll go through it, and the business plan will decide if they call you for a meeting or for interview or for assessment, or if they should put your application further into the assessment process. The business plan becomes your first contact with the funding institution. And ultimately, it just helps you to manage your business effectively. So a business plan, according to me and according to literature, is very important for a new venture. Or not necessarily for a new venture, but for you as an entrepreneur, to make sure that you manage your business effectively, even if you don't need funding. Manage it effectively, you have targets, you have goals that you want to achieve, and then you monitor it. But it's not cast in stone. You don't write a business plan and that will be annually. You need to revise the business plan because the environment changes. So continuously, you need to make sure that you adjust your business plan accordingly, and you adjust your financial projections and the resources that is required so that your business plan is up to date. Another question that you need to ask yourself is, Do you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? What are your objectives? What do you want to achieve? Because sometimes entrepreneurship is a long, hard, lonely journey. So a business plan will guide you through that journey, but you need to as well just evaluate your character to say, are you ready? Do you have the personality to pull through? Are you have the persistent? As we discussed in our one of the lessons where we're looking at the entrepreneurship profile, if you even looked at that lesson, look at it to say what is required for you to be an entrepreneur. What you'll go through. You'll go through headaches and pains. You'll go through rejections. Are you ready for that? You might have the best business plan that you can ever design or the best that has ever been, but you still be rejected. There will still be pushback. So the best thing that you can do is to make sure, one, you have the right personality. You are ready for entrepreneurship. And two, you have the very good business plan that will go a long way in terms of assisting you and navigate through the difficulty of entrepreneurship. Here's the video on what it takes for entrepreneurs to make it through the business. So we're going back to the 3 case studies. We're just showing you the good and the bad of entrepreneurship, where you'll face hard times as an entrepreneur, but also it's got its own benefit, the success. If you achieve success, it gives you that sense of achievement. Enjoy the video and we'll discuss it after.
The good and bad of entrepreneurship. Starting with the good. Making your own decisions. You answer to no one. Limitless income potential. How much money you make is up to you. Freedom. The ability to live where you want and vacation as you please has been invaluable. The bad. You'll put in more hours each week than anyone else you know. Stress. Being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. Lean times. Enduring years when paychecks are far and few between is all but inevitable. Your personal relationships will suffer. For the aforementioned reasons, you will have less of yourself to give.
Ray calls himself a founder of McDonald's, even though he was not the founder. In his words, he says he took a burger stand in the desert and turned it into a national household name. And obviously history is written by victors. Long after he's gone, Ray Kroc is still remembered because he built a lasting legacy. This is one of the main attractions of entrepreneurship. If, and it is a big if, you succeed, you will leave a lasting legacy. On the flip side, entrepreneurship also comes with its own headaches and tears. Ray divorced in his 50s because his wife Ethel was not as passionate as he was about business. She had enough of Ray's ventures, and they started drifting apart when Ethel did not support him when he started on his own at Prince Castles. Entrepreneurship will change you. If your partner doesn't share your passion, it may cause problems in marriage.
We all know the good feeling you get after closing a deal. Imagine closing a deal for yourself, for your own legacy, not your employer. It is just an unbelievable feeling of fulfillment. In the scene below, you can see how excited Efren and David are for closing the Afghan deal. David has been lying to Iz because Iz didn't support the war. He is basically living a double life. Sometimes this is what you have to do to protect your family from the stress. Entrepreneurship will stretch you and make the moral line and ethical lines blurry. Your partner may not share or understand the sacrifices that are required for you to be successful.
The Oakland A's won 20 straight games. Winning 20 straight games broke the American baseball world record. What is more important is that the A's achieved the record at minimum budget. For those who played sport, they know how amazing winning feels. Amazing. Winning on a short string budget is even better. Changing your sector comes with the risk. To be the first one through the wall, your nose will always be bloody. In the process of changing your sector, it is a risk, and your job or business is at risk. It causes insecurities for the people around you. Entrepreneurship is a lonely journey.
You need persistence, perseverance, and killer instincts. Kroc was a good salesperson. The brothers lacked almost all of the above characters, and Ray ended up with McDonald's, and they stayed with their burger stand in the desert. Below is the scene for the Founder movie that I believe best reflects this topic. There's one common thread among every successful entrepreneur, an unwavering need to build that cannot be deterred by the quantity or severity of challenges. The A+ player test. Are you the absolute best at what you do? The shower test. Are you passionate? The half glass test. Do you see problems or opportunity?
AEY's industry segment of defense, arms dealing, and servicing war zones needs someone who is courageous because at some point you will be exposed to the real physical danger of war. Tendering and arms dealing business are not the most ethical business sectors. The lines become gray at some point. These sectors need characters like Ephraim, the character that can kick back when getting kicked. Ephraim and David were the same age, but Ephraim was David's boss because he always fought his way back in the face of defeat. AEY had to deal with volatility, geopolitical, and economic environment. Ephraim and David had to travel to war zones to ensure that the guns are delivered. AEY had to manage risky and dangerous supply chains, source arms from dangerous suppliers, and sometimes illegally.
Billy was haunted by the decision he made earlier in his career, where he made a decision based on money. Him choosing the money that baseball offered over going to college. Billy's baseball career as a player did not take off, and he didn't have a qualification to fall back on. Billy vowed to never make a decision based on money again. His drive was not about money. He believed the baseball scouting industry was flawed, and he wanted to change the game to allow small teams to be able to compete with large money teams. To be successful as a GM of a baseball team, you need to be a dealer, be able to close deals and trade players. You need to be a risk taker, a card counter. Billy was a card counter. He was able to determine whether the next hand is likely to give him a probable advantage over others. Card counters are a class of advanced players who attempt to reserve the inherent casino house edge by keeping a running tally of all high and low valued cards seen by the player. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organization.
As you can see from the video, there's a headaches and pains on the one side. There's pain. So if you have a business plan, at least when you're going through the storm, you will be able to have a document that you can refer to. And on the other side, you also have happiness, excitement when you're achieving things that you were planned to achieve. So if you achieve the business plan, it will give you that sense of achievement, that sense of happiness that we saw from the clip that we just saw, that once you achieve, you get that sense of achievement. But it comes with both the pain, the suffering on one side, and the sense of achievement, the excitement on the other side. So the business plan will help you navigate through the storm and also ensure that it guides you to achieving the success that you want to achieve, or you plan to, or you wish to achieve in your new venture. Okay, when you're preparing your business plan, there will be resources that you need for you to be able to prepare your business plan. The first resource or information that you'll need, it will be your industry information. You need to investigate your industry, understand your industry. So by industry, it means, like if you take the McDonald's from our case study, it's in the fast food industry. So you need to analyze the fast food industry. Who are the players in that industry? Who are the supply chain? Who's playing the role? How does the supply chain work in that space? How do you get goods from one end to another? How is the service delivered to the customers? Are you going to use the model of McDonald's where you have a shop and a drive-through, or you're going to use delivery, or is going to be a sit-down, because a McDonald's is a fast food, which is a takeaway. So there's different models that work within an industry. So the first thing that you need to understand is the industry. How does it operate? And you need to find a gap that you believe you can take advantage of. So like in the fast food industry, McDonald's realized that initially people were selling a whole lot of things. They were selling, meat. They were selling pasta and all those things. But the McDonald's brothers have realized that only 2 products, or 3 products for that matter, are making them 80% of their revenue, which was the burger, the chips, and the drink. So they eliminated all the other products and they focused on this product, and they designed the operation to focus on those products. So you need to understand your industry. How does it operate? How can you take advantage of your industry? And secondly, You need to understand the participant in your industry. Who are the players? If you're going to the fast food, you have the big boys like your Nando's, your KFC, your McDonald's. Those are the big players in the South African industry, and you have famous brands, the brands from famous brands. So you have those 4 players which are key in this sector. And if you were to participate, you need to see where you fit in the industry. Because without knowing the participants, the competitors, the suppliers in the space, you might have challenges, you might fail. So that's very important to make sure that you understand the industry, how you're going to enter the industry. And you need to understand the distribution channel. Obviously, with the technology, with delivery services being there, you need to be able to understand how does the technology affect your industry? How is it changing? So that you don't implement a legacy business model that won't survive, because we are in a new age now. With the COVID, things change. Businesses are operating differently. So you need to investigate your industry, understand how it operates, and look at the opportunities. Where are the opportunities that you can take advantage of as an entrepreneur? That's the first data that you need to look at before you jump in. Is there an opportunity in your industry? Can you exploit it? What resources are required for you to exploit this opportunity? Who are the participants? Who are the game players in this game that you want to enter? Will you be able to compete with them? Will you be able to collaborate? Who can you partner with? So you look at the industry as a whole, you understand the risk of that industry, the funding that's required, the failure rate, the success rate, who's successful in that space, so that you make an informed decision. That's the first thing that you need to look at when you're developing your business plan. So that your industry knowledge, investigate. Now you have access to internet, you have access to different industry association data. Research that industry that you want to go into before you start, because you might start and once you've started, you lose money. It's difficult to get out of a specific industry once you enter. But investigate it, see if it's viable for you, if there are opportunities in that industry before you jump in. That's the first one. So that's the very important one, that there's something that you need to look at. So now we're going to look at the clip from our case studies, which addresses the industry analysis. Or in some cases, it's a lack of industry analysis. That just give you a practical example on how these case studies, how these entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs went through it, and how did they look at their industry. Enjoy the clip and we'll discuss it after.
Industry analysis. Industry analysis is about identifying opportunities that you can explore and finding ways to mitigate the related risks. Industry analysis gives industry understanding and assists you to develop strategies on how to be competitive. When analyzing your industry, you look at size, growth, and stability, market share of competitors, limitations, change in the industry, cost of operating in the industry, and prices. We use Pastel, SWOT, and Porter's 5 to analyze sectors. These will be explained in detail in their section.
McDonald's is a fast food industry, but its main business model is owning the property that franchisees are operating from and the system the franchisees use. The industry is big and highly competitive. McDonald's success can be attributable to its strong brand and good customers.
AUI is in tendering. It bids for advertised contracts. AUI identified the defense industry as its market segment. It is only bidding for defense contracts. The U.S. Defense Department opened up the defense sector for small players, and AUI joined the gold rush. Tendering industry is high risk because it is highly competitive with zero barrier for entry.
The A's are in the entertainment industry. Baseball. Running a club is capitally intensive, and this creates a barrier to entry. While it requires serious capital investment, it is not one of the more highly profitable sectors. Most people go into sports as owners because of passion for the sport and for branding rather than profit making. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
As you have seen from the clip, in terms of the industry analysis, McDonald's analyzed the industry, and they realized that they can make more money by one, from the real estate, by owning the property. So most of their revenue comes, or most of the profitable revenue comes from the rental that the franchisees pay to McDonald's Corporation. That's one of the business models. After they've done their investigation, they've identified that is an opportunity for them to make money. That's the first one. The second one is on the franchising. Instead of them owning all the stores, they realize that you rather split the risk with the franchisees, where the franchisees are the ones who are investing in their specific store. Instead of running a big corporate or conglomerate of owning all the stores that are within the McDonald's, they franchise them to different franchisees. So that's their business model that they've used. So some fast food companies, they still own their stores instead of franchising them. But McDonald's decided to go with the business model of franchising their store. So they understood that this is the industry, this is how we're going to play in this industry. So it applies to you as well. Look at your industry and decide on how you're going to play in that industry. And for AEY, there's nothing much that you can do in the tendering business. You just hope that you bid, and then you hope that you are the best bidder in that case. So, but obviously you need to build your reputation and have the necessary skills for you to be able to deliver on the contract, so that technically they find that your business is competent, and then you can compete on price. That's all they can do in terms of the space that they're in, the industry that they have chosen to compete in. And they chose the defense industry because that's where now many people were not participating. Only big players were participating. So they saw the opportunity to say, yes, we're doing tenders, but are we tendering for everything, or do we specialize in the defense? So that's what AEY decided to go into, the defense industry, because not many small players were playing in that space. So even for you, even if you are a tendering business, decide, don't tender for everything. Build your knowledge and specialty in a certain sector. Then that will give you a better chance to be successful in that space. And then when you're looking at the Auckland A's, it's a sport, it's capital intense. You need to have stadiums, you need to have players, you need to have a long-term contracts with players. And it's highly, highly capital intense. So if it is the type of business that you want to go into, you need to be able to analyze in terms of the costing. How much will it cost? How long will it take you to be profitable? Which investors will be interested in partnering with you? Will you be able to crack it? Will you be able to get into the first division? Because remember, with the sports, are you buying an existing sports club, or do you start yours from the scratch? Will you be able to go through the lower divisions until you get to a division that is profitable, or the professional divisions where you're getting money, people are attending your matches? So in terms of sports, in this case, for the Auckland A's, starting a club like that, it's highly capital intense. So investigate your industry, the funding that is going to require, the legislation that is required. There's certain things that you need to have in place before you can participate in certain sectors. So analyze your industry, make sure you understand it before you jump in. The second resource that you need to make sure you have is market analysis data. You need to have data on your market. Who are your customers in the market? What is their buying pattern? How big is their buying power? Where are they based? How would you be able to reach them? So you need to be able to analyze the market, understand the market, know how you're going to approach it. Because once you understand the industry, that yes, you can participate. Now you need to go to your market. Who exactly are you going to serve? Are you going for corporates? Are you going for individuals? Are you going for government? If you're going for corporates, are you going for large corporates, small corporates? So you need to filter it down. If it's the individual, which income level are you targeting? Are you targeting the high earners, or are you targeting the bottom of the pyramid? Then because your business model will be different. How you approach it will be different depending on your target market. You can't target everyone. Well, you can, I guess, but That's a recipe for disaster. So if you are developing a new venture, or you want to improve your new venture in terms of your market must be specific to say, what is the buying pattern? Who exactly buys your product? What is their buying capacity? Where are they based? How are they buying? Where are they buying? From who? Who is your competitor in that market? How are they doing it? So that you can analyze the market, understand the market, and understand who you should be targeting. Because targeted businesses are more successful than the others. So you need to be able to narrow down your market, know specifically which market do you want to target. And it's nice to say I'm targeting everyone. The market is big, but you might find that it will be an issue of hit and miss, because your marketing campaign will not be targeted. It will not be structured specifically for your market. Now we're going to see the clips from our case study, the founder, Moneyball, and the Word Doc. So if you look at it in terms of the market analysis, before going to the clip, McDonald's is looking for its family. It's targeting the family. They have your Happy Meals for kids. They have the play place for kids. So they make it a family-friendly environment. That's one. And then the other market is on the move. People on the move who want quick service, efficient. So that's where the McDonald's market is. Obviously, okay, depending on your taste buds, but you wouldn't say the McDonald's burger is the best burger ever or meaty burger. No, but you know what you're going to expect from McDonald's. You know that their service is good. You know that your kids will be able to get that kiddies meal. That's the McDonald's target. That's what they're targeting. That's what they're focused on. That's where they put their energy. Because if they had to target everyone, people who want fancy dining, if people who want coffee or who want different things, then the targeted market will be confused. They wouldn't know which market to target with their advertising or where to invest in terms of their marketing activities. So that is your McDonald's. And then with the AUI, they were not just tendering for anything. They were not just throwing in the tenders for hoping for the best. They focus on the defense industry. They build their network in that space. They build their expertise in that. They understood the arms industry. They understood how the industry works. So that's the importance. They focus. Even though they're doing tendering, there's nothing special about what they did. They didn't have special skills or anything that they're offering that is unique. But one thing that they did is they focused. They focused on the defense industry because it was big enough. And they were focusing on the crumbs. They were not going for the biggest deal in that space because they knew they didn't have capacity for it. They say they focus on the crumbs. And in the defense industry, like the US and big countries, the defense industry is big. So the crumbs are also big. So you must be careful. If you are focusing, don't focus on a small market that will make your business not viable. The market must be big enough for you to sustain your business, one, but to even allow you for growth. You need to still be able to grow in that targeted market before you add another segment. Remember, you can start with one targeted market. Once you fully exploited that market, you become mature or you become too big in that market, then you can add another market segment. That's the very important part. Rather than going for everything, you rather be focused. Like AUI, they've built their business in the defense industry, tendering for that. And then with them, Auckland A's is a baseball team. So you can now want to start a football, baseball, cricket, rugby team at once. Yes, you can maybe build one once you are successful in that stage and move to another if it's necessary. But focus on your specific market so that you will be able to achieve the success that you need. Enjoy the clip and then we'll discuss after.
Market study provides insight into a wide variety of things that impact your bottom line, including where your target audience and current customers conduct their business, which of your competitors looks for information, options, or purchases, what's trending in your industry and in the eyes of your buyer, who makes up your market and what their challenges are, what influence purchases and conversations have among your target audience.
McDonald's brothers failed to conduct market study when they started in arcading, and they realized after opening that the market was too small. They were lucky they had significant funds to relocate the operation, and it was funded from their operations by themselves. It did not involve external funding. You may have not have reserve funds to re-establish yourself if you fail. Do all you can to avoid and limit failure where possible.
David started a sheet business without market study, and he couldn't sell any of them because the market was not willing to pay for quality bed sheets for old people. He now had boxes and boxes of sheets, and he didn't know what to do. Be cautious. Invest the minimum you can until you have proven the market.
Pete's market analysis was on the money. He used deep historical data. Pete's stats has put the Oakland A's in a much better position given its budget. The research information made the Oakland A's super efficient and compete with more competitors that were better resourced. Proper market study will give you an understanding of inefficiency in the sector. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
Okay, as you have seen from the previous clip, the McDonald's brothers, when they started, they didn't do quite a detailed market study. And they started, but lucky enough, they started from their own funds. So once they started, they realized that the market in Arcadia was too small. They had to relocate to San Bernardino. So if they were funded, they would have lost the money of the investors. So don't make that mistake of starting without doing a proper market analysis. And also, this story also fits into David in AEY. Before he joined AEY, or he joined Ephraim in AEY, he was selling bed sheets. But he didn't do his market analysis. He thought he would sell the bed sheet to the old age homes, and he realized that nobody cared about people at the old age homes. They were not willing to buy his bed sheets, and this business failed because he didn't do the market analysis. And the last one on Moneyball, Pete was able to analyze the market, identify the failure of the market, see how they can take advantage of the market by identifying undervalued players. So from the clip, you can see the disadvantage of not doing your proper market analysis. Understand your market. And as well, you can see the advantage of knowing your market. You can see David failed in his first venture before he joined the AEY. The McDonald's brothers, they failed in their first venture, but it was not complete failure. They were still able to recover by relocating. Those are the 2 bad decisions that they made by not analyzing the market and understanding their market. And then with AEY, they did a very good job by analyzing the market, understanding the weakness of the market, and how they're going to approach it in terms of buying cheap players, which can fit into their game plan. Okay, so now the resources we spoke about that you need, the information that you need is on 1, on your industry, and understanding the industry. 2, it's on your market analysis, market understanding. The third one is now on human resources side of things. 1, do you have the necessary skills to execute what you want to execute? If yes, then good. And then will you be able to recruit the people that you need for your business? Are you in the area where those skills are freely and easily available? That's one thing that you need to make sure in terms of the resources. And if you don't have the people to execute or the skills that you need to make sure that you secure the partners. And generally, like your venture capitalists, they say they prefer businesses that are started by at least more than one founder, because they know this is a difficult journey. You need to make sure that you have enough human resource to push you through. Because sometimes if you are alone, you get discouraged, and if things are not going well, you don't have somebody to motivate you or somebody with complementary skills to help you push your new venture. So one of the resources that you need to make sure that is your human resource. Do you have the people to help you through? Do you have the necessarily human resources for you to be able to execute your project as you want it? Some projects, they want you as a one-man show. You don't need any other resources. But depending on the size of the project, if the project is big, you need to make sure you have the necessary partners. If you need a co-founder, find a co-founder. If you need your funder, find the funders. See what are their requirements. See their mandates. See if they will be able to support you in terms of putting in equity into the business. When you spoke about access to funding, if you didn't watch that video in terms of the requirement for you to access the funding. Because once you start, one of the resources that you're going to need is funding. So it's important for you to understand how to fund a new venture, because it's important. It becomes a critical resource that you will need for you to start. But even if you understand that, as a founder, you need to put the skin in the game. You need to contribute something. You need to be able to put equity into this business. If you can't find a key personnel or a key partner that can come up with the necessary funding. If you have the funding, you might not have the necessary technical skills. Find a person with the technical skills for you to start your business with, so that at least it makes it easier for you to start. You will have the resources, you will have the human capital for you to execute the project. So employees, key partners, your executive or your founding members are very, very important. But make sure that you get the right people to join you on this journey, because it's a long, frustrating journey. If you are not aligned in terms of your goals and your objectives, you will fight along the way. Now, you play the 2 clips on key personnel and as well as on labor from our case studies. Enjoy the clip, and then we'll discuss it after. But these clips, they show the importance of having a key partner that you're working with, the person that you work with, the one that can help you on your strategy in execution. That's one. And secondly, making sure that you have the foot soldiers to execute your project. You must make sure that those resources are available, you engage, you understand what are the requirements, so that when you develop the business plan, you know how much you're going to spend on human resources. You know how many partners will be part of the business, so that you will be able to draft the business plan accordingly. Enjoy the clips, and then we'll discuss them after.
Key personnel. Key persons are mainly your core shareholders, directors, and investors. Entrepreneurs are not operating as an island. Key employees are a critical support structure for your operation. These are the people that support the organization when it is confronted with change, and they assist in identifying potential opportunities. Identify key personnel of your organization and their key role in the organization.
You need persistence, perseverance, and killer instincts. Croc was a good salesperson. The brothers lacked almost all of the above characters, and Ray ended up with McDonald's, and they stayed with their burger stand in the desert. Below is the scene for the Founder movie that I believe best reflects this topic. But at McDonald's, Ray relied on June and Ted Turner to manage the operation. June was more in the finance and HR, while Ted was running the operation. As an entrepreneur, you should hire employees that you can trust to delegate some of the important parts of the operations. You cannot do everything on your own, or you'll burn out.
Ephraim had David. David was a hardworking key partner to Ephraim. He was the one who secured the $3 million Afghan deal. David was the one based in Alabama executing the transaction. Key personnel is critical. AUI had to deal with volatility, geopolitical, and economic environment. Ephraim and David had to travel to war zones to ensure that the guns are delivered. AUI had to manage risky and dangerous supply chains, source arms from dangerous suppliers, and sometimes illegally.
At the A's, Billy had Pete. Pete is the one who came with the statistics that the A's used to buy undervalued players that were effective in getting to base. With Pete's arrival, the A's changed their business model, and Pete played a critical role in changing the business model. Without Pete, the A's may not have achieved the 20 wins. Billy was haunted by the decision he made earlier in his career, where he made a decision based on money. Him choosing the money that baseball offered over going to college. Billy's baseball career as a player did not take off, and he didn't have a qualification to fall back on. Billy vowed to never make a decision based on money again. His drive was not about money. He believed the baseball scouting industry was flawed and he wanted to change the game to allow small teams to be able to compete with large money teams. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan. Labor is a fundamental and active factor of production, and it is an important contribution to the production of products and services. These are the foot soldiers and are critical to delivering your value propositions. It is important to recruit carefully people who share the values of the organization. In South Africa, it is not easy to dismiss employees. Ensure that the recruitment policy and strategy is appropriate. Organizations are expected to provide conducive working conditions or environments.
Employees at McDonald's are trained properly. McDonald's takes training and development seriously to the extent that it has established a hamburger university, which I had the pleasure of attending. Front staff are called a crew in McDonald's system. These provide direct service to customers. McDonald's, or the fast food industry in general, provides entry jobs, and people work in the industry as a stepping stone to jobs that they actually want to do.
The nature of AY's business required skilled labor, this labor that in which special knowledge, learning, training, and efficiency is required in performing the work. AY was recruiting employees who's interested in making money. The type of people who will excel at the agency industry are people that enjoy sales.
The A's had the statistics method to recruit underrated players that fit their system and are affordable. They all require different types of labor, such as repairs and maintenance of the facilities. The A's will have all kinds of employees, unskilled and skilled. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
From the clip, you can see that at McDonald's, Ray had June, who was the secretary in the office, who was making sure that she runs everything like clockwise. And then he also had Ted Turner, who was running the operation, and on strategy and finance he had Harry Sonneblom, who was helping him in terms of strategy, who came up with a real estate strategy. So you always need that kind of a team to support you as an entrepreneur. The people who will complement the skills that you have. And in terms of the labor, McDonald's, they have the systems in place. The training programs are top notch. They're able to train necessary employees. They can replace any employee at any time. So they have the system in terms of the resources when it comes to human resources. And then with AEY, Ephraim had Pete, who was a perfect fit for him. Pete was a very, very hard worker. He will search at night, find deals, and execute those deals. So he played a very important part in supporting Ephraim at AEY. And their recruitment as well was targeted to people who want to make money, the salespeople. When they're doing the recruitment, they were not looking for intelligence or anything. What they were looking for: can you sell? Can you find deals? Can you search the deals and find them? That's the type of labor that they were looking for at AEY. And at Moneyball, the Oakland A's, Billy had Pete. Pete was very good analytical. Yes, Billy was an ex-baseball player. Okay, failed in that career. But he knew that the game needs to be changed. But he didn't have the technical know-how to change the game. Then he hired Pete to change it for him. So Billy hired Pete so that Pete had the knowledge. He was educated. He knew the statistics. He knew how to run to find best players for cheap. So he hired him as a partner. He played a very critical role for them to win those 20 straight games at the Oakland A's, as small as it was. So Pete played a very important supporting role to Billy. And with Pete, even the recruitment was the best recruitment, was the best recruitment because they recruited undervalued players. So in terms of, now, obviously, in a baseball game, the laborers are call it the players. Okay, they are key personnel, but there are more laborers because you need to recruit many and fire and all that. So Pete came up with that statistics or that system to identify undervalued players. So even for you as an entrepreneur, these are very critical things that you need to make sure. Do you have the necessary support system? Do you have the partners that you're going into this venture with? Will you be able to recruit the necessary resources in terms of laborers to help you execute your strategy? Those are the resources that you're going to need for you to develop a very good business plan. In addition, obviously, you're going to need funding that we touched on. You're going to need compliance. If into your business is complicated in terms of impact on the environment, obviously you're going to need the EIA, the environmental impact assessments that you need. If it's a franchise, you're going to need the franchise agreement or the licensing agreement. If you are mining, you're going to need the license agreement. So there are certain resources that you're going to need for operational purposes. Those we're going to touch when you're touching on operations. But the key things, operationally, you must make sure you have the resources. Financially, you have the funding for you to execute the project. You need human resources for you to deliver on the project. You need to make sure that you have a targeted market that is profitable and sustainable. That will make your business viable. And you understand the industry and the risk that goes into the industry. So those are the resources that you need before you jump into starting your business plan. Make sure they're in place. Make sure you understand them. Make sure that they are doable before you start now developing the business plan. In the next section now, we're going into developing the business plan. Developing a business plan for a business that you just want to make money is different from developing a business plan that you want to revolutionize the world. So if you can see from our case study movies, Billy from the Oakland A's and Ray from the McDonald's wanted to change the world. So the business plan, how you develop it, it will be more detailed, more structured, and more market research to be done because you're targeting a wider area. You're targeting to change the how that industry operates. So the research that you do, the market study that you do, the resources that you're going to need are basically more than what the people that like your McDonald brothers, they just wanted to run one shop. So in terms of their business planning, their business plan would have been completely different from that of Ray. Or the Pete and Ephraim from AEY, their business plan would have been totally different because all they need is search, submit the bids, and hope for winning those bids. So the business plan will be limited. But if you are revolutionizing the industry that you are operating in, the business plan will be different. So it's important for you to know why you're going into business because it's going to guide in terms of how you develop your business plan. Okay, when you're developing your business plan, the first thing that you need to make sure that you address is your value proposition. It must be upfront. It must be clear. In terms of value proposition, we are talking about what differentiates you from another business. What will make you different? What will make you successful? That you should be able to define upfront. Because without value proposition, then you are just any other player. The chances of you failing are very, very high. So you need to define your value proposition. What differentiates you from other suppliers or other competitors? Why will the customer want to buy your product, not the product of your competitor? That must be clearly defined. And will you be able to sustain that competitive advantage that you have defined? So in terms of value proposition, you look at what makes your product or your service different. That's one. Will the customer be willing to buy that product as versus your competitors? That's two. Three, will you be able to sustain that competitive advantage? If you can say yes to all those 3 points, if you can develop them clearly, then you have a good value proposition. Here's the clip from our case studies to show you the different value proposition from the McDonald's value proposition, AUI, and the Auckland A's. Enjoy the clip and we'll discuss it after.
Value proposition is about solving a problem or problems that customers are willing to pay for. What problems are you solving? If there's no problem that you're solving, then you don't have a business. And most importantly, your customer must be willing to pay for you to solve the problem. What problems are you solving?
Speed. They don't call the sector fast food for nothing. Speed is important. Efficient. Speed goes with efficiency. You don't want to do something wrong quickly. Convenience. With a reach. In the US, McDonald's is accessible like we have access to spaza shops. Don't forget, system. McDonald's operation is based on a modular system and they can easily be expanded from one area to another. McDonald's is proof that if you build systems to support your value proposition, you will be successful. Even with international expansion, McDonald's was able to maintain their C system across the world. The system allowed McDonald's to maintain consistent delivery of its value proposition.
Ability to efficiently source and supply products, even if it is made between the lines. The most hardworking team chasing small contract ignored by large contractors. Small businesses that delivers no matter what it takes. If you have nothing unique, you will continuously work hard like crazy to keep your head above the water, which may lead you to doing unethical things.
Billion P changed the business model of relying on scouts to identify players. They relied on the system to identify undervalued players that would fit in their system. The system they made the A's efficient given their limited budget. Identify undervalued players. Uses math that allows them to buy players that will provide them in runs that will make them win. System. Their operation was systematic and followed a system. What makes it unique about your business? What is your value proposition? What makes you different from existing suppliers? Billion P changed the business model of relying on scouts to identify players. They relied on the system to identify undervalued players that would fit in their system. The system they made the A's efficient given their limited budget. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
You can see from our clips that McDonald's had a different value proposition than many. One is speed, systems that can be replicated in different countries or in different areas. So that it made it easy for McDonald's to expand. They had their system in place. They made sure that they standardize everything. They have a modular operation so that they can expand their operations easy. So fast food industry require fast food. Obviously, the service must be fast, must be efficient, and must be accurate in terms of the delivery. And that's the value proposition of McDonald's, is speed. It's their main value proposition. And then AUI didn't have any unique value proposition. So they were just working as hard as they can, because the industry where you don't have a unique service that you're providing, you just have to work harder than the next guy for you to be able to secure a contract. And with Billy, then their value proposition was totally different. They were looking for undervalued players that they can buy for cheap and they can fit into their system. That's something different. They were able, from that value proposition, they were able to compete with rich clubs, because how they found players, they had a differentiation to say they're not paying big money for players, but they're finding undervalued players. And they were very competitive. So value proposition is very, very important. Make sure that you are selling something unique, one, and it's not easily replicated, which is 2. It's very important that it must not be able to be replicated quickly. And the last one is you must have the skill and the quality and the people to execute on that value proposition. So value proposition is important. Make sure it's outlined upfront in your business plan. It must be clear when the person is reading your business plan to find that uniqueness about your business plan, about your value proposition, how you're going to deliver it, to who and how, and to ensure that it differentiates you from other players in the market. Now, after your value proposition, now you need to develop your business model. How are you going to deliver your value proposition to your customers? How are you going to deliver your services to your customers? So in terms of business model, there are different business models that you can implement. For McDonald's, their main focus is fast service, efficiency, and lower cost. Obviously, their food is affordable. That's their business model. They put on the store. You have to drive to the store to buy. Oh yes, okay, now they're doing deliveries, but it's not one of their biggest revenue drivers. So their revenue drivers is setting up the store. If they set up the store, they earn a rental from the store. That's one of the income that they have. And that talks to their business model. They receive, and then they also advertise for franchisees, and so that the McDonald's brand is known. There's another revenue. That's another revenue that they generate. And lastly, they generate revenue from a supply chain. By supplying the franchisees with goods and services, that's what they generate their income from. The fourth one is on the royalty fee that the franchisees pay to McDonald's brand. So the revenue model is one, rental from the real estate that the franchisee are paying, because McDonald's own the store. So you pay the rental. Secondly, is from the supply chain. They call it kickbacks or rebates that they get from the suppliers as they deliver goods and services to the stores. They get rebates from there. Thirdly, there's an advertising fee. For all the advertising, the franchisees, they have to pay the advertising fee. And lastly is the royalties for using the McDonald's brand. So that's the model for McDonald's. Then the business model for AEY is just you bid, and then you bid the lowest that you can, and then you get the contract. Once you get the contract, you find third parties to deliver the goods for you, because they are not manufacturing the goods themselves. So they are just the middlemen. They bid for the contract. When they secure it, they find who's the supplier, and they organize the logistics to get the product delivered to their customer. That's it. That's their business model. And they don't have a lot of infrastructure that they have to put in place. All they need is a phone and few people to search for tenders and submit the tender document. And once they get that, they just have to facilitate the delivery of the goods to the customer. That's their business model, which is simple, low cost. And then with the Auckland A running a baseball team, it's highly intense, but their business model, basically, you make money from selling tickets. For when the supporters come, they pay the gate fee. That's your first revenue. Second revenue, you're dealing with the sponsors. Their shirts, sometimes they're sponsored. You recruit sponsors, so you get the sponsorship. During the games, there are advertising boards within the stadium. They're also generating income from there. And fourthly, they generate income by selling players. When you sell the player, you make the money. But generally, the money that they use for selling players, you have to replace those players. But it is revenue that you generate. So that's the Auckland A's business model. So you need to define your business model. You need to be sure, what is your business model? How does your business model work? So now we're going to go into the clip of our case study movies so that you understand clearly their business model and how they operate.
How the value proposition is delivered. You need to think carefully on how you will deliver the value to the proposed customer. It must be creative, efficient, and it cannot be easily replicated by competitors. If competitors can imitate it, then you do not have a competitive advantage.
McDonald's business model was based on building a system that will support its value proposition and can easily be replicated. The operating system developed by McDonald's brothers and the real estate business model by Sonny Bourne allowed McDonald's to expand its franchising model. The system allowed McDonald's to maintain consistent quality and speedy service in all stores. The McDonald's business consists of franchising, real estate, control of the supply chain. Most importantly, system.
AEY's business model is outwork competitors, search, focus on smaller contracts ignored by larger players, pay good commissions to employees. They use money as a motivational factor. They didn't focus on soft HR issues like employee satisfaction, career path, and morals. Their focus was on making money no matter what. AEY's business model, therein no invention, no differentiation. They cast their search for contracts wider and deeper. AEY maintains a culture of hard work to remain competitive. AEY secured contracts purely because of hard work. Normally, organizations tendering for defense contracts use public relations and lobbying. AEY didn't normally use public relations and lobbying, but targeted the crumbs that big competitors ignored.
As entrepreneurs, you need to develop a business model that cannot be easily replicated by competitors. Unfortunately, the A's business model was easy to replicate, and almost all the teams in the league copied their business model. It made it difficult for the A's to maintain their competitive advantage. Low-cost operation, where players are paying for their soda. Use maths to identify undervalued players. System. They have a system that allows them to pay less per win compared to their competitors. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
From the clip, we saw the business model is clearly explained in terms of how they generate their revenue. What is your revenue model? Where are you going to get the money from? So even you as an entrepreneur, when you're developing a business plan, properly articulate it. Once you articulate your value proposition, articulate how your business is going to operate. So from your business model, then it will come where you're going to generate your income. What will be your revenue stream? Once you define your revenue stream, then you decide on, now you go into the operations to say, if I'm going to generate income from this activity, then I need to set up the store. Like McDonald's. For them to generate rental, that means they need to build the store. For them to get the rebates from the logistics, that means they need to arrange the logistic people to deliver at which store. So that it needs to be managed. For them to generate revenue from royalties, they need to make sure that the brand is well looked after. For them to make sure that they generate revenue from advertising, they need to make sure that they run advertising campaigns. So now, those things, they define how they will now write up their operational plan. Operational plan, it will tell them that for you to generate this revenue based on your business model that you have defined now, you need to build stores, which they need to be in certain area. After you've done your market study, you set up the store. These are the costs. What do you need for you to build the stores? Then you decide on the equipment, which you will list in your business plan. I need this equipment for me to deliver this revenue. I need so many people. I need these resources. I need 1, 2, 3, 4. So you write that 1, 2, 3, 4 in your business plan, which is guided by your business model, the revenue that you want to generate. Then you write how you're going to generate that revenue. So you are putting together now your operational plan. And obviously when you put in your operational plan, you need to define the process within your operational plan. 1, what activities needs to happen for you to generate the income. 2, the resources that you're going to need in terms of employees. Legal requirements that you need to comply with for you to generate that revenue. So your business model becomes critical. 1 is driven by your value proposition. Then you get your business model. Then after your business model, then you get your operational plan. So we're going to touch on the operation plan in due course. But the value proposition, you write it. It must be clear to the reader. What is your value proposition? What differentiates you from another competitor or another player in the market? Once you've written that clearly, the second one is how you're going to operate, where you're going to generate your revenue, which will be your revenue drivers. You write it that clearly. that I'm going to generate revenue from 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you've done that, then you get into the operation part. You need to define, for you to generate that revenue, what activities you have to perform. You outline the activities that you have to perform for you to generate that. Once you've outlined, that will be your operational process. Write it in diagrams to show that step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, following each other. To say, for me to generate this revenue, I need to do 1, 2, 3 activities. And then you allocate resources. How much you have to invest for you to design that process. The money that needs to go in. And then, obviously, there will be people that needs to run that process. How many people you're going to need? How much they will cost you? Those must be documented in your business plan so that the person understands how you're going to deliver on your business model. That's on the business model. Now we're going to go into vision, mission, and goals. Vision and mission and goals is basically what gives the direction to your organization. They must be clearly written, understood by everyone involved. Your team, if you are not a one-man show, if you have a team, your team must understand your vision, must understand your mission, must understand your goals. When you're talking about the vision, we're talking about where do you see your business long-term? What is it that you want to ultimately achieve? So a vision is just one sentence or one paragraph where you're defining clearly where do you see your business? Where will your business be in a certain period? Generally, maybe you might say in 10 years, you want your business to be listed on a stock exchange. That's the vision that you have. Or maybe making a difference in rural communities. Whatever the vision is, what you see is how you want people to see your business in future. So that when you put it, you must put it clearly in your business plan, so that when you put it there, it directs you, it guides you. Everything that you do must be directed by where you see your business in future. You want it to be listed, you want it to be the best in whatever the industry that you are in, you might maybe save lives, whatever that the business that you want to do, but you must have the vision where you want to see your business in future. So that's the vision statement that you need to write in the business plan. The mission is, once you have the vision, how do you get there? Through technology, through hard work, through ethical principles, through what? So you need to define how you're going to achieve that vision in your business plan. So your vision is achieved through your mission. Your mission, you just outlined a little bit to say, maybe through technology, we'll develop an efficient system that will make sure that we achieve a success rate of so much in terms of maybe online facilitation. So that's your mission, or to be a best online facilitation and YouTube channel in the world by developing systems and technology for you to be able to achieve that. So your mission is the how you're going to achieve your vision. And then after your mission, then you have goals. You're going to have long-term goals, you're going to have short-term goals. Long-term goals generally are 5-year goals, which what you want to achieve in 5 years. 3 of them, maximum 5 goals, you must put them down clearly, that you want to achieve 1, 2, 3 in 5 years. And then those long-term goals must guide your short-term goals. Your short-term goals might be yearly or within 3 years, what you want to achieve. But you have a long-term goals and a short-term goals. In terms of when you're setting goals, they say they must be achievable, they must be measurable, they must be well-defined, they must have targeted dates. So they must be clear. Because if they're not measurable, they're not well-defined, they're not achievable, they're not specific, then you might not be able to achieve. They say they must be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, and they must be tangible. The person must be measured, they must be able to know, and then they must be realistic as well. So you must set smart goals. So once you set up your long-term goals, which maximum 10, and then your short-term goals, they must fit into that, but what you want to achieve within a year. So, for example, your long-term goals, it might be on maybe achieve a certain revenue target, achieve $1 billion in 5 years. Then you must want maybe on the human resource side, you say you want 98% employee retention, to make sure that you lose only 2% of your employees. That's on the human resource side of things. And in terms of quality, maybe you might say you want 99% or 0.1% returns. That's on your quality side of things. And then maybe on the marketing, you might say you want to capture 10% of the market. Those can be your long-term goals. They're achievable, they're clear. So when you're setting goals, set financial goals, set market goals, set human resource goals, and set operational goals. So if you look at it from the goals that I've mentioned, one is financial. You want to achieve R1 billion turnover. That's a financial goal. Human resource goal, you want to retain 98% of your employees. So you don't want to lose staff often. That's a human resource goal. Operational goal is efficiency, in terms of you want only 1% of your goods or services returned or complaints from customers. Then that becomes your human resource goal. And your market goal, let's say you want to achieve 10% of the market share. That is your market goal. So you need to make sure that your targets or your goals are smart, achievable, they are realistic, they are measurable, they are specific. People can understand what you're talking about, know what to achieve. So from those $1 billion per annum in 5 years, then you set your annual goals. To say in the first year, I want to achieve maybe 100 million or 10 million in revenue, retain 98%, but quality maybe 5% returns, and then maybe achieve 1% market share year on year. So those goals, short-term goals, they are to help you to achieve your long-term goals. So that's what you need to do. But you must clearly articulate them in your business plan. Make sure that they are clear. Your mission is clear. First you start with the vision. The vision is clear. Where do you want to be in the next 10 years? Mission is clear. How do you want to achieve that vision? The technical know-how. And then the goals are also clear. They must talk to the vision as well. And you mustn't have 100 goals. 5, it's a good enough number. Or less than 5. They are small, achievable, few, so that your business can be focused. And then in terms of the goals, you have long-term goals and you have short-term goals. So make sure your long-term goals, make sure that your short-term goals fit into your long-term goals. So let's just now look at our case studies. Look at the vision from Ray Kroc and AUI and Moneyballs. Enjoy the clip on the vision, just to clarify the subject further. Okay.
Vision, mission, and objective. Vision is the organization's eventual destination. Where do you see yourself, and how do you want to be seen? Mission is how you will achieve your vision. Objectives are goals that will help you achieve your mission.
Vision. Ray saw McDonald's in every community. Mission. Ray wanted every American to have access to McDonald's through standardized process and procedures. Goals. Their objective was to maintain the quality, speed, systems, and wanted it to be convenient.
AEY's mission, vision, and objective were mixed into one. AEY had a short-term vision which made it their mission. Their mission was to take advantage of the procurements for the Iraq War and make money. Even though it was common to establish an organization with a long-term vision and mission, at times entrepreneurs establish organizations to achieve a specific goal or create a venture for a specific short-term project.
Vision, to change the game, for the sport to be more efficient and pay value for money. Mission, to win championships with a small budget. Goal, to win the last game of the season. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
Those were the missions and visions and goals of the 3 case study movies that we were using as practical examples. Now we're going to go into operations. So basically, as I explained earlier, on your business model, which is how you're going to make money from where, then you need to look at your operations. Then you write your operations section where you define, one, the operating process that your business will follow. 2, the inputs that your business will need, the raw materials, the labor for them to execute on that process. And then 3, the product that will be produced from the process. So you summarize basically, 1, the operating process, show how the product or the service flow within the organization. 2, the resources that you need, either in terms of equipment, how many equipment, at what cost. So you must be able to give a value of how much is required for you to run your operation. And 3, the resources, the number of people that you're going to need to run that operation. And 4, the product that you're going to produce and the quantities of that product or the service, if you're providing service. Even services, they follow call it a production process. There's a process where in training, we normally tender, we get appointed, we arrange dates for facilitation, we facilitate, we assess the learners, we moderate, we submit the moderated result to CETA, who comes to external moderation, and they issue the results. So that's the operational process. The McDonald's process within the store will be they receive raw material, they store them, they process them. In terms of making the burger, they separate the patties, they fry them, they package them, and they give them to the customers. That will be the process for McDonald's. And the process for AEY, it will be they search for contracts or potential contracts. They find them, they prepare their bidding documents, they submit their bids, the bids gets evaluated. If appointed, they sign the enter into a delivery, whatever service level agreement. They deliver the product, they get paid. That's AEY's process. And in terms of the Auckland A's, the season opens, you need to sign players, you need to train the players, you need to play the matches if it's at home or travel to the opponent, you play the games, and that cycle repeats every week until the season ends. And then at the end of the season, then you either won the championship or not, or whatever. But that's the process. And then you generate, with the AEY, you generate income in between, where people are advertising their gates, takings that you do, their sponsorships, and you sell players during the season. So that's our 3 case studies processes, the operational process. Now, just to cement the learning, we're going to go into a clip that defines a little bit more on the operational process of these 3 case studies. Enjoy.
Operations. Operations is the crux of your organization. It's where an organization is made or broken. Operations are how the organization delivers value to its customers and how it runs itself. Entrepreneurs should be clear about their operating. Decide on the type of operation you want to build based on the customer segment you are targeting. No matter the strategy or market, operational efficiency is key. Do what you do the best way possible. When all is said and done, even the most operating processes are fallible. Take time to probe deeply into your operations to identify any inefficiencies and areas for improvement.
McDonald's has one of the best standardized operations in the world. Its operations is about speed and consistency. Standardization and modular operations of McDonald's allow it to easily expand and being able to franchise its operations. Standardization is about ensuring that all the operational processes are performed with a set of guidance, and this allowed McDonald's to replicate stores easily in different locations. McDonald's was able to grow because it standardized its operating system and were able to franchise the concept. Franchising is nothing more than just renting out the operating system. Standardizing your operations will allow your organization to easily grow without your direct involvement. The McDonald's business consists of franchising, real estate, control of the supply chain. Most importantly, system. Speed. They don't call the sector fast food for nothing. Speed is important. Efficient. Speed goes with efficiency. You don't want to do something wrong quickly. Convenience. With a reach. In the US, McDonald's is accessible like we have access to spaza shops. Don't forget. System. McDonald's operation is based on a modular system and they can easily be expanded from one area to another.
AEY's business model is outwork competitors, search, focus on smaller contracts ignored by larger players, pay good commissions to employees. They use money as a motivational factor. They didn't focus on soft HR issues like employee satisfaction, career path, and morals. Their focus was on making money no matter what. AEY's business model, therein no invention, no differentiation. They cast their search for contracts wider and deeper.
The A's operation is complex. It is different from making a burger or submitting a tender. It involves extracting maximum performance from players. And they are not machines. They perform differently depending on the day, and they have brains of their own. The operations are unpredictable. They are playing different teams week in and week out. It is not easy to standardize the operation process. Each match has its own strategy and approach. The team's operations and performance cannot be standardized. The operation of a sports team just has too many moving parts. It keeps the operation manager on their toes all the time. Billy was haunted by the decision he made earlier in his career, where he made a decision based on money. Him choosing the money that baseball offered over going to college. Billy's baseball career as a player did not take off, and he didn't have a qualification to fall back on. Billy vowed to never make a decision based on money again. His drive was not about money. He believed the baseball scouting industry was flawed, and he wanted to change the game, to allow small teams to be able to compete with large money teams. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
As we've learned from the clips from our 3 case studies, that operations has become important and it is defined by the business model that you decide to go into. In all the clips that we used, please make sure that you complete the activity to make sure that you populate your business plan accordingly. Each clip wants you to complete it and make sure that you do your analysis and you update your business plan accordingly. But operation is key, is the driving force of your organization. Make sure that when you're writing up your operations, it's well researched, it's driven by your value proposition. After value proposition, you look at your operating model, and then from your operating model, then you'll get your operating processes, the process that you need to follow for you to achieve your business or your revenue. So outline your operation flow accordingly, as explained previously. Make sure that it's clear, the reader of your business plan can understand the operating process from stages. Each stages of your operations are defined, well articulated, the resources that you need, the equipment that you need, the raw material that you're going to need for your operations to function accordingly. Okay, now we're going to go into the financial projection section. Financial projections mainly consist of 1, your income statement, 2, your balance sheet, 3, your cash flow. So when we're talking about the financial projections or your financial statement, they are putting things together to see if your business is financially viable. Operationally, we have looked at it to say you need to look at the resources that are required for you to achieve your revenue model. We looked at the industry and the market viability, where we analyzed the required for you to be able to enter this sector. So 1, you look at the market. Is your market viable? Do you have enough customers to support your business? If yes, then two, operationally, do you have the resources to put together the operating process for you to service this market? If you can, do you have the technical skills and the knowledge and the team to execute on that business model or on that operation? If yes, then financial projections are what puts them all together into one to see that is this business financially viable. So when the funder tells you about the viability, the business is not viable, they're looking at your financial projections. But the financial projections are taking into account your market that you want to service. How much are you going to? How much will you be able to generate from that market that you want to service? That's one. And then the operation side, how much will it cost you to service that market operationally? The equipment that you need, the labor that you need, the resources that you need, the raw materials, where you need to be operating, the license fees that you need to pay, which are coming from the operational side. And third, do you have people to execute the venture or the project? If you have the people, how much you need to pay them? So once you've done that, then it comes into your financial projections, which I know for most entrepreneurs is the financial projection is a nightmare. So that's why at RMK Industries we developed the application Super Deal Maker. Super Deal Maker, you put in the data as we discussed, your industry, the market, the employees that you're looking for. Then it generates a business plan for you with the financial projections, which will tell you if your business plan is, or your business or your venture is viable or not. You don't have to stress about knowing accounting and knowing what is the income statement, balance sheet, and your cash flow and your owner's equity. That's not critical. The critical part is you need to make sure that you analyze you understand your market, the market that you're servicing, the size of that market. Operationally, what equipments are you going to need? How many people? At what cost will it cost you to put together the plant or the operation? Once you have the cost, then you need to look at the resources that you need in terms of people that you need to run the business. Once you have that data, our application will be able to help you to auto-generate the business plan for you, and with the income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow with the projections. But anyway, even though we have that the application, which we encourage you as an entrepreneur to use, we still have going to explain in terms of what do they mean, what do you look at. So income statement bring everything together to see if the business that you want to start, is it profitable. So it will look at the market that you want to service. What is the revenue that you'll be able to generate from this? Once you look at that operationally, how much will it cost for you to operationally execute this? The equipment, they must be supported by quotation. You need to pay rent. You need to pay electricity. You need to pay for the raw material or the inputs or for the stock that you're going to use. That's the operational cost. Then you need people to execute. So that's another cost that you need to take into account. So the income statement looks at the revenue, it looks at the operational cost, it looks at your labor cost, then it shows if the company is profitable or not. And then if it's profitable, then your business will be what is called financially viable. That's your income statement in a nutshell. Then the balance sheet, it shows the position to say, yes, you are making profit or you're making losses, but the position is this. Your assets are this much, your liabilities are this much, and your equity is so much. Equity meaning what you own as a entrepreneur or as a director or as a shareholder. Then that shows you if your business is viable in terms of liquidity and solvency. Is it solvent? Is it liquid? Does your asset exceed your liabilities? Because for you to operate, your assets must always exceed your liabilities. Otherwise, as a director, they will consider that you're operating recklessly. If in your balance sheet, your assets exceed your liabilities, you are technically insolvent and you're not supposed to trade under those conditions even if you are trading, but you need to disclose to the relevant parties or to relevant stakeholders that you're operating while your company was technically insolvent. So it must be declared in your financials, in your reporting, so that you don't be seen as being operating negligently as the directors of the company. So that's the balance sheet. It shows you the financial position of the business. Are you operating? Are you solvent? Are you liquid? Because if you're operating technically insolvent, then it's a problem, because you can't operate. It's in contravention with the Companies Act. You need to make sure that your company remains solvent. Then you have your cash flow. Your cash flow is the same as your income statement. The difference is your cash flow is only show the cash movement in your business. How much cash came in? How much cash went out? What is the balance? Are you cash positive? As they say, like cash is king. It shows the lifeline of the business. Are you generating enough cash to sustain your business? So those are the financial projections that you need to look at, and then you need to make sure that you prepare the financial projections accordingly. First, you need to have your income statement. The business plan requires that you need to have two, if it's not a new business, you need to have two historical financial records that you record, and then you project for the next 5 years. Generally, the funders, they say the first 2 years of your projections must be over 2 years, and the last 3, you can do them annually. So that means the first 2 years of your projection, you project your income statement, your balance sheet, and your cash flow monthly. You show each income, expenses, profit monthly for the first 2 years. And then after the third, fourth, and fifth year, you do them annually. So that's the standard acceptable projection method that the funding institution wants, because you can not accurately, but reasonably project for 2 years. After that, things change. And then even for you, even though I know I said the funders look at the monthly projection for the first 2 years, but those also will help you in managing your business. If you do your monthly projections, you'll be able to monitor your performance monthly to see if you are reaching the target that you're supposed to achieve. So reporting monthly, doing the financial projections monthly for the first 24 months, and then after that you can do them annually, so that you have a picture of where your business is financially and where is it going, which is very, very important. It's critical, because without making profit, then that means your business is not viable. I know as an entrepreneur, you are in this to make profit. So to make sure that you're generating enough profit, your income statement must be positive, meaning your income must exceed your expenses. And on the balance sheet side, you must be liquid. Your assets must always, it happens maybe in 1 month where your assets exceed your liabilities, but if consistently, your assets must exceed your liabilities. And when you're looking at the cash flow, make sure that you are into generating positive cash flow, meaning the cash in the business is always exceeding the cash going out of the business. Because if the cash going out is more than the cash coming in, you'll obviously have a negative cash flow, which will put your business viability at risk. So that's the financial statement projections, but it gets a little bit technical if you are not an accountant. And when you develop a business plan, always it's advisable that you need to get the necessary skills in. If you need to have somebody with the exposure in accounting to prepare the financial projections for you, do that. Because sometimes when the funders are looking at your financial projections, it's a reflection of you. If they're not accurate, then those create doubts in your business plan. So make sure that your financial projections are always accurate. Do the first 24 months monthly projection, and the last, if you're doing it over 5 years, the last 3 years, you can do them annually. Make sure that they are accurate. They relate to your historical performance if you are not a startup. So if you are not a startup, you would have performed for the previous 2 years. Make sure you include them when you're preparing your financial projections, so that the person who's reading your financials can see the base that you started from and going forward, which is very important for them to create a base, and then so that they can see that it's not a hockey stick where you're starting from 100 rand and all of a sudden you are making 1 million in turnover. It must be steady increase in terms of the adjustment. But the financials as well, we're going to have a financial session. We're going to detail in terms of the revenue projections, the assumptions that you need to use, the cost. What do they mean? Which cost go where? So we're going to have a complete session on that because it's a big topic that we can't include in preparation of the business plan. But that's what goes into the business plan. The financial projections, which include one, income statement projections, which the first 24 months is monthly, and the last 3 years is annual. You need to have your balance sheet monthly, 24 months. After that, you do annual and you have your cash flow statement. So that's on the financial statement projections. Then we're going to also just touch on the clips from our case studies so that it gives you perspective in terms of what is the financial statement and how do they apply to our case studies. Enjoy.
Our financial projections consist of income statement. This statement basically shows if your organization is making money, income minus expenses. The higher the number at the bottom indicates the better the performance of the organization. Income statement of McDonald's income includes sales of goods like burgers, chips, and drinks, royalties paid by franchisees, rent paid by franchisees, and rebates received from suppliers. For this income, you deduct relevant expenses, salaries, costs of goods, and other costs paid to achieve those revenues. Balance sheet. It indicates how strong the financial position of the organization is. Balance sheet consists of the expenses used to purchase items in that organization that the organization will use for more than a year. Included in this is also a debtor, people who owe the organization, and creditors, amount owed to suppliers. Cash flow. This shows the movement of cash in the business. Cash flow. Cash flow is the same as an income statement. The difference is just that in the cash flow, non-cash items are not included. Expenses like depreciation. Ratios are performance levers that are looked at to assess the performance of a business. Ratios. The main ratio is gross profit and net profit. These ratios indicate how profitable the organization is.
Ray failed to prepare detailed financial projections when he started franchising McDonald's. This led him to run out of cash and the banks couldn't help him. He then tried to renegotiate royalty percentages with the McDonald's brothers, and the brothers refused to renegotiate. If Ray had done detailed financial projections, he would have negotiated a better royalty from the beginning. Ray Kroc was lucky he met Harry Sonneborn, who came up with a real estate strategy that the banks liked. If it wasn't for Harry's business model suggestion, Ray may have failed because he failed to project his income and expenses. Financial projections are critical for your organization. Entrepreneurship is about making profit after all.
AEY was a lean business. It did not have too many expenses to budget for. Their main expenses were salaries, rent, and telephone expenses, and these were easy to budget for. AEY did not have proper financial record, and it is unlikely they had detailed projections. Even though not recommended, AEY could afford to operate without detailed projection because it was easy to informally project their monthly expenses, and they had a generous equity investor. AEY had to reconstruct their financial statements and projections when the Pentagon conducted due diligence on the company. Financial projection is the first step of prudent financial management system that will help you manage the financial affairs of your organization. Lack of financial management system was one of the key weaknesses of AEY.
The A's appears to be a prudent organization with disciplined budgeting processes. This is clear when Billy was requesting money from Steve, and Steve indicated that Billy should find players within his budget. This is important discipline. The A's always made sure that they spend money within their budget. As we have learned from the A's, financial projections are used to predict and manage an organization's spending to avoid spending money that it doesn't have. Budget and financial projection discipline were the key success to the A's. It helped the A's to explore options and strategies of buying good players that they could afford given their limited budget. Organizations without budgets and financial projections are financially careless, and this has led to many business failures. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
Okay, as you heard from the clip from our case study movies, financial projections are very, very important. They will help you to be able to analyze the performance of your business, see where you are, and be able to take the necessary step to change if it's necessary for you to change. So make sure that you prepare accurate business plan with accurate financials. It's critical for you to prepare that. But as I said earlier, we have Super Dealmaker application that will help you develop the business plan the way without you stressing on the accuracy of your financial projections. So, but when you're reading the financial statement, even from our application, make sure that you understand that initially, any startup, initially you make a loss. Then as a business grow and gain customers, it turns into profit. So you need to know what is the profit. Is the the revenue generated minus all the operating expenses needs to show you if you are making profit or not. In the balance sheet, make sure that your assets are always exceeding your liabilities, because if you are not, you are technically insolvent. So when you do your provision, that's one thing that you need to make sure you monitor. And on your cash flow statement, monitor that at some point, obviously you're going to have the initial stage of the business where you are making losses, but you need to get to a point where you're breaking even, meaning your income meeting your expenses, and then you need to start making profit. If your business doesn't make profit at a certain point within 3 years or so, depending on the nature of the business that you are doing, of course. But generally, businesses make losses in the first year and they turn a little bit into profit in the second year, and going forward, they perform consistently generating profit. So financial projection is one of those sections in your business plan that you need to make sure that they're accurate, they reflect your business model, they reflect your market, they reflect your operations. So once your financial projections is done, now we're going to go into just to touch on the legal requirements, because you still have to make sure that you comply with certain things when you're developing a business plan. Which one is the type of organization that you're operating from? Is it a PTY? Is it a cooperative? Is it a partnership? Is it a incorporated? But the main thing is define. It needs to be legal institution. Yes, you can develop a business plan for a business that is still going to register. They call it NewCo. But you need to know the type of business that you're going to register. If it's a normal business that will generate profit, we no longer have the closed corporations now. So the CC, you can't register a CC now. Mostly a normal organization, or generally used, you are using the PTY, more especially for small businesses. But we're going to have this section where we're explaining the difference between PTYs, the difference between limited, cooperative, and NGO. You can operate as an NGO, you still need a business plan. You can operate as a cooperative, you still need a business plan. And we'll go into detail in terms of how they operate, how many people are supposed to be in a PTY, or in a cooperative, or in a limited institution, or in a partnership. We'll go into detail, but make sure, one thing that you need to make sure for this section is that you have a registered company, South Africa, and then it's registered with CIPC and is compliant. You are paying your annual annual returns that you need to pay to CIPC to make sure that you are legally operating as an organization. You are registered and operating. Make sure you have your tax matters in order. You have your tax clearances, and make sure that you have permits where you're operating from. You have permits to operate that type of organization. These are the compliance things that you must not ignore. Make sure that they're in place. And now we're going to just watch the clip in terms of our case studies to see what type of organizations are involved in these case studies. Enjoy the clip.
Organizational details. This is where you provide details of your organization, including all compliance registration, including but limited to company registration information, banking information, operation and locations, key contact details.
Mr. Kroc created an operating company and a property company as two separate legal entities. If your operations are too diverse, it may be prudent to create separate companies. However, it must be strategical, operationally important and efficient to have separate registered organizations.
AY was an INC, meaning incorporated. In South African context, it is a PTY Ltd. Since AY was tendering or relying on the government for business, legislative restrictions and compliance are critical, i.e. it needs to make sure that its tax affairs are in order and has valid tax clearance.
It is not clear if the Oakland A's was an NPO or for-profit organization. Generally, sports and cultural organizations are NPO because their objective is to advance certain interests. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the three movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
Okay, still under the legal frameworks, we spoke about the organizational details. Just make sure that your company is registered to provide the details in the business plan so that the reader can understand what type of organization are they looking at. And then, as well, now the second one is on technical requirements. Certain industries require technical requirements, like in training, you need to be accredited. In mining, you need mining license. In different industries, if you want to be a franchisee, like for McDonald's, you need to have the franchise agreement. So investigate your sector. Identify the technical requirement. Make sure that before you invest money, you need to be compliant with your technical requirement. So the technical requirements, it's very, very important because sometimes you can spend all the money and to only find that you don't obtain the mining license, or you don't obtain the franchise agreement, or you don't obtain the accreditation, but you bought the property and you bought the equipment without the necessary technical requirements. Meeting the technical requirements, you can waste your money or invest in the things that might not be of value to you. Make sure upfront, technically, your business is compliant with your specific industry. Different industries, as I said, require the different industry. It's just that now we're going to touch on the technical requirement from our case study movies, just to give you an idea on the things that different industries require. But your industry might be different. Enjoy the clip.
Technical capacity. Every sector has its technical requirements, accreditation/licenses, and any other approval. There are generic legislative requirements that organizations are required to comply with, such as the Constitution, fair labor practices, such as minimum wage and compliance with labor laws, employment equity, health, safety and security, COIDA. Entrepreneurs are expected to know their sector's compliance requirements.
McDonald's has one of the best standardized operations in the world. Its operations is about speed and consistency. Standardization and modular operations of McDonald's allow it to easily expand and being able to franchise its operations. Standardization is about ensuring that all the operational processes are performed with a set of guidance, and this allowed McDonald's to replicate stores easily in different locations. McDonald's was able to grow because it standardized its operating system and were able to franchise the concept. Franchising is nothing more than just renting out the operating system. Standardizing your operations will allow your organization to easily grow without your direct involvement. Ray started McDonald's using equity from his property. The banking system found it easy to advance personal debt than business debt. He later found a creative way to expand with the help of Harry Sonneborn. As an entrepreneur, you need to find a creative way to start without external business funding. Otherwise, you will never start.
AUI's business does not require too many regulatory approval. Generally, it will be company registration, tax, and labor compliance. However, AUI is dealing with arms and they require special permits to move them between countries. It is important to know all the requirements to move your product. AUI is a small service business with limited impact on the environment. AY operated from a rented office, therefore its environmental compliance requirements was minimal. Unfortunately, the sector they were serving generates high pollution. Guns, bombs, tanks are not environmentally friendly. Even though AY's operations have limited impact on the environment, because of the nature of the industry it is serving, it is negatively contributing to the environment. Think about how you will reduce your environmental footprint.
There are a number of legislative compliance requirements that a sports team like the A's are supposed to comply with, i.e., registration with the relevant associations and the league. There are also labor compliance issues, which you need to comply with. In the case of the A's, there are a certain number of players a club can register. Ensure that you are aware of all the technical requirements that your organization needs to process. Stadiums and training facilities have a high negative environmental impact because of the large space required and water and electricity consumption which needs to be managed. Another main environmental impact of the A's operation is noise pollution and waste on match days. The A's must make sure it has a process and procedures to manage the noise pollution and waste. The A's operations also consume a lot of electricity and water, which have a negative impact on the environment. The A's are expected to efficiently manage the noise, waste, electricity, and water use. As an entrepreneur, you need to determine strategies that you will put in place to manage your environmental compliance. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking. 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
That was a clip on the technical requirements of our 3 case study movies. But your organization will have totally different, not totally, but it might have different technical requirements. Make sure that you understand your sector. Make sure that you know what is required. Outline it properly in your business plan so that it is being addressed upfront. Because remember, the business plan is to address the risks that may come up with establishing your venture. So don't ignore the technical requirements. Make sure that they are in place before you start. A business plan is the one that's going to limit the loss that you might make without doing your proper research. Understand your industry, know what the technically is required. And now we're going to get into the next one, which is linked to technical requirement, which is the environmental requirement. It's one of the things you need to make sure that if you are setting up a manufacturing process or any other process, make sure that environmentally you are compliant. We do what they call EIA. If you are in industrial area, you don't need to do that because the area will automatically be zoned for the business that you are doing. But if you are starting a business in an environment or in a place where it's not zoned for that business, you need to make sure that you do your environmental impact assessment, which is EIA. It's important. And generally they say EIA, takes 6 months, but knowing our inefficiencies within government, it can take you up to a year or 2 years even. So if you don't make sure these technical compliance are in place upfront, you might be in trouble. You might invest time, you might invest money in a project that it might not take off because it doesn't have the environmental approval. Here's the environmental impact assessment or the environmental impact on the case study movies that we currently using as a practical guide. It will give you an indication in terms of the things that are required for you to make sure that you have in place when you're doing your new venture. Enjoy.
Environmental. One way or another, your organization will have an impact on the environment, either negative or positive. The level of impact on the environment is influenced by the sector that you're operating in. Some sectors have a higher impact than others. There are 2 types of environmental considerations. One is legislative, where an organization is required to comply, i.e. Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA. 2 is environmentally friendly strategies, voluntary strategies by an organization to reduce carbon footprint. The first step is to make sure you know your sector's legislative environmental requirements and make sure you comply. Secondly, try and reduce your organization's carbon emission footprint. Basically, try and reduce your organization's negative impact on the environment. Most importantly, you should not compromise efficiency and economical viability of your organization in favor of being environmentally friendly.
McDonald's builds stores, therefore they are required by law to conduct environmental impact assessments, EIA. McDonald's is expected to make sure it obtains all the EIA approvals before they commence building. Entrepreneurs should not underestimate the time it takes to get EIA approval. Generally, it is believed that it takes about 6 months, but practically it takes much longer than that because of the insufficiencies in our government system. EIA requires an organization to develop compliant environmental compliance strategies and monitoring system. Some environmental considerations for McDonald's as a fast food company is management and disposal of waste. It requires a valid health and safety certificate to operate. What are your sector's environment compliance requirements?
AY is a small service business with limited impact on the environment. AY operated from a rented office, therefore its environmental compliance requirements was minimal. Unfortunately, the sector they were serving generates high pollution. Guns, bombs, tanks are not environmentally friendly. Even though AY's operations have limited impact on the environment, because of the nature of the industry it is serving, it is negatively contributing to the environment. Think about how you will reduce your environmental footprint.
Stadiums and training facilities have a high negative environmental impact because of the large space required and water and electricity consumption which needs to be managed. Another main environmental impact of the A's operation is noise pollution and waste on match days. The A's must make sure it has a process and procedures to manage the noise pollution and waste. The A's operations also consume a lot of electricity and water, which have a negative impact on the environment. The A's are expected to efficiently manage the noise, waste, electricity, and water use. As an entrepreneur, you need to determine strategies that you will put in place to manage your environmental compliance. Complete the assignment. Compare how the topic is addressed in the 3 movies and rank them according to your preference on how the characters and the organizations dealt with the topic and motivate your ranking, 1 being the best and 3 the worst. Analyze this topic and its applicability to your situation and industry. Write up your analysis to meet the requirement of the industry you're operating in. Update the relevant section in your business plan.
We spoke about environmental or technical aspects that you need to make sure that they are addressed in your business plan. So that is your business plan compilation. Those are the important things that you need to make sure that they are included in your business plan. And if you are applying for funding, please look at our session that we have done on financing new venture so that you know what other documents are required that will go with this business plan that we have just guided you on. So please make sure you watch that session so that when you're submitting your application, you know which institution to submit your application to, you know which documents to attach to your business plan. And as well, from this unit standards, there are 2 sections that we haven't touched that will make sure that we touch in our next session, which are the ethical requirements that you need to make sure that you comply with. This is in terms of how you treat employees, the industry standards that you need to comply with, the compliance in general. There are so many things. The constitution, you need to comply with the constitution, you need to comply with the occupational health and safety, you need to comply with the labor laws. Those are the laws and that you need to make sure that you comply with, but you're going to have session on the compliance as a separate thing. And then as well as the pitching, once you have a business plan, how do you pitch it? How do you sell it to investors? How do you market this business? So that those 2 will be addressed in a separate sessions, because we're going to have a session on the marketing side. How do you market your business? So the pitching and the marketing and promotions will be included in that session. For now, please make sure when you're completing your business plan, watch the clips that we included in here. Make sure that you complete the assignment at the bottom of each clip. That will help you to prepare the business plan. You'll have almost a complete business plan. But don't forget to use our app. It's easy to use. You generate business plan in minutes. It will have your financial projections. that it makes it really, really easy for entrepreneurs to develop their business plan. But this session, it was just to make sure that you understand what goes into the business plan, why is it going in the business plan. Until the next session, we are out.